Hey everybody, this is John for Arena Nexus MTG coming at you with some Historic Brawl. It's been a minute since we've played some Historic Brawl, and this is a deck that I've been messing around with probably for the last month or two, ever since I saw CGB streaming it, and that is Tiamat. Now, Tiamat is normally Dragon Tribal, blah 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 blah, nothing too interesting about that, but this one does something a little bit different. It's somewhat centered around the card Maskwood Nexus, which creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. How this is relevant is with Tiamat, this allows you to go and fetch 5 giants out of your deck, not mattering which ones, and unlike, say, Commander, you do have access to Primeval Titan, which is, you know, one of the more broken ETB effects in the game. And then, in addition to all that, you have copies of the World Tree. Well, if you have Maskwood Nexus in play in the World Tree, at the end step, if you have 11 mana, you can then turn around and sacrifice the World Tree and pull every giant from your deck, kill your opponent. So a couple different lines of attack, along with some early creature interaction, early ramp. Then you basically go from an early game control deck into the control ramp deck into this cast all the giants. Now, obviously, Kroxa and Uro are part of the party as they are giants, despite their, you know, early cheap game mana. And then beyond that, you play things like Sunder Shaman. Never deals combat damage, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You get to play the Pole Bearer here, has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage. Never deals damage to a player, create a food token. Sacrifice, get to do various different things. You have Calamity Bearer, which if a giant you control, you double the damage effectively. Then you get to play Aggro, which whenever a creature or planeswalker opponent controls dealt excess damage, you draw a card, and so on and so forth. And then you have all the powerful titans here at the top end. Thryx, which makes them all your expensive spells a little bit cheaper. Battle of Frost and Fire does 4 damage to each non-giant creature. Quake Bearer can't gain life. During the upkeep deals 2 damage to each opponent. And then you have Grave Titan, which makes a bunch of dudes. Frost Titan, which locks down your opponent's most expensive thing, plus it's a little bit harder to kill. Frostos Charger is a Mountain Cycler that also has haste. Inferno Titan helps clear the board. Towering Titan enters the battlefield with X+1 counters, where X is the toughness of creatures you control. Sacrifice creature with Defender. All creatures gain trampled. There aren't too many creatures with Defender in this. Prophetic Titan enters the battlefield. You have a bunch of different abilities that can do. Kroxa and Karanos allows you to reanimate stuff from your graveyard. Realm-Cloaked Giant is a sweeper plus a body. Beanstalk Giant is a ramp spell plus a giant. And then, you know, Primeval Titan we've already talked about. You have Glassbone be able to copy it. And then, you know, you just play a whole bunch of other things. And then you play a bunch of sweepers, interactive spells. Try to hold it all together. While this deck isn't as powerful as some of the other 5-color decks like Niv Mizzet, etc., still quite effective when you can keep this Maskwood Nexus in play. Whenever it dies, your deck's a little bit weaker, but still reasonable overall as you do have some decent backup plans. With that said, let's get into some matches. Right. Opening hand. Is awkward. No ramp other than Guardian Idol, so mulligan. Chromatic Lantern kind of ties everything together, so we'll keep on Proving Grounds. Two late game decks going at it. Might have Growth Spiral here. Nope. Tyrannosaurus Rex. So we're pump it down a little bit. Maskwood Nexus, continue with the Realm counterspell. Alright, then we get to play Tiamat and kind of go nuts from there. So, win is a win. Alright, Inga and a Sika. This hand's a bit giant heavy, but has a reasonable creature control vigilance, and add spend this to cast creature spells. Never casts 3 or more. Spent to cast it. Draw a card. Interesting. Well, do this to slow our opponent down a little bit. Pitching Calamity Bearer here. Okay, opponent gets to play a Sika. Draws a card. Don't think anything in our hand currently does much for us. Now, if they hold up a counterspell, there's like nothing we can do basically. Good chance it's a counter spell when we die. Yep. Alright, we got Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge. And X. Okay. Seems an okay-ish hand other than the mana situation, which I think necessitates we mulligan. This hand's a bit of a mixed bag, but we'll try it because it's got decent mana. Their opponent have possibly Pact of Negation rolling on here. Bless you. Alright, pass. Gold Reverse Rebuke. Alright, so we look at our opponent's deck. +1/+1 deals X damage. Keep. Okay, I'm gonna start drawing lands. Okay.
I'm not gonna let you slow me down. Need a weapon?
other utility cards in our deck, so I guess we grab all the Storm Giants. Alright, just let our opponent continue to be in life. Should have played Kingdom Discovery this turn. Alright, so we were able to overpower Almenda. Alright, looks like our opponent is seeking to drive us nuts with Chitterfang. So definitely keep us hand. We have most of our mana colors, a sweeper, Cyclone Summoner. So blue, I guess. Oh, apparently I don't have double green. That was kind of dumb. Toski, sure. Draws 2 cards. Huh. I don't think my opponent realized I misclicked and didn't hit creatures, but hey, a win is a win, I guess. Alright, post wrap. You did see a little bit of both this deck's strengths and weaknesses. This deck is very board-centric, and it's also part ramp, part control. So if you ever draw the wrong portion of your deck, don't draw enough ramp, or you draw, no interaction for your opponent's board and they go wider than you, well, it is very possible to kind of get overrun. This deck is a blast to play in small doses. It's not as powerful as, say, Omnath or Niv Mizzet, and, if Maskwood Nexus gets blown up or you never find it, your commander is basically a 7-mana 7/7 flyer, which while that's not terrible, it certainly loses a good bit of its value. The deck, has a number of sweepers. You have On New Inversion, Ruinous Ultimatum, Farewell, Supreme Verdict. So you have a number of outs to, some of your more difficult matchups like the aggro decks that can go under you, or, some of the counterspell heavy decks can just counterspell your relevant spells and kind of beat you that way. But, it is a change of pace from, Tiamat Dragons or from staring down the more powerful 5-color versions. I think this one's a little bit less powerful, but still has enough going on for it that when it executes this game plan, can certainly have a lot of fun. But I figured it was a nice entry to get back into the historic thing. Once again, all credit goes to CGB for this original list. He may have gotten it from somewhere else, I don't recall, but yeah, this deck is a blast to play, and Maskwood Nexus is a card certainly that I'd be looking at for normal Commander in addition to Historic Brawl to be able to abuse a little bit more. I was always a huge fan of Sliver Hive. This kind of does that, but a little bit better, making it so your creatures in the graveyard and creatures in hand are also considered, all creature types. So that's quite nice. So keep this card in mind as you're, doing whatever you're doing in Commander and Brawl. Downside, obviously, if it gets blown up, your deck gets considerably worse. But yeah, still a lot of nice synergies built into this deck, and it's really a blast to play. The list will be down in the comments below, and hopefully you like Historic Brawl or Explore. If you do, don't consider giving us a subscribe, and hope to see you for our next video.